EduTechGuys Radio, radio.edutechguys.com.
The opinions expressed on the site and its programs are those of participants and not intended to and do not necessarily reflect the opinions of any specific educational entity, sponsor, company, state, or government agency.
Hello and welcome to EduTechGuys Radio, brought to you by the Southwest Arkansas Education Cooperative and Hope Public Schools, both located in Hope, Arkansas. And we want to give a big shout out to CDWG for their sponsorship through some of the equipment that we use here on the show. Good afternoon. Welcome to an early edition of EduTechGuys Radio. I'm David Henderson.
And I'm Jeff Madlock.
There you go.
We're getting better at that every time we do it.
You know, hey.
It's going to be a great show today. Hey, if you're listening to us, thank you. If you're not listening to us, well then.
It's like taking attendance for the people who aren't there. Right?
Check us out on the web at www.edutechguys.com. You can also catch us on Twitter at twitter.com/edutechguys. Also Instagram as EduTechGuys, and on Facebook.com/EduTechGuys.
That's right.
Yeah, we're probably out there as EduTech. Heck, as David says, just Google EduTechGuys. Pretty sure we'll probably be in your top 3, if not the top 1 that comes up.
That's right.
Hey, lots of great stuff happened to us. You're going to catch us this summer. We are getting ourselves probably way too busy. We're probably going to be meeting ourselves on the interstate and in the airways, coming back and forth between places.
We're going to pass ourselves.
Yeah, listen, if you're one of the schools, you're a member of a school, staff member of a school that's in our listening area, which would be the Planet, some of you might start receiving some mailers from us starting next week.
Yeah.
We have workshop dates open. If you'd like to have us come and do a 1 hour or half a day or a whole day, we highly recommend the half day or whole day. We highly recommend the whole day.
We highly recommend like a 3-day workshop session. That's what we'd like.
You know, it's fun. It's not just about podcasting, because we're going to get heavily into Google Apps for education, because we use Google Apps ourselves to create all the background elements for the podcast that we're doing. So we delve into everything from creating your logos to actually making the music for your intros and any background music. We get into audio editing. We get into Google Apps and how to use it for scheduling, how to create shareable show notes, and the whole bit. So it's a pretty neat idea. In fact, one thing that we've been talking about is setting up Google Classrooms as shows. So your show is a Google Classroom.
Right.
Therefore, all the stuff for the weekly show or daily show can be shared in Google Classroom and edited out that way.
Well, and what's cool about that is that if you were looking at doing podcasting in your classroom and you set up a Google Classroom to handle that aspect of it, then you've got all the students enrolled in that Google Classroom. They're all working on whatever their piece may happens to be. Maybe they are the on-air personality, or maybe they are the script writers, or maybe they're the music folks, or whatever. All of that can be tied in.
Yeah, lots of stuff that you can do with it, and you're going to find that podcasting has got its second breath. It's second wave. It's coming back now. Very, very popular in educational settings, and everybody wants to be part of the podcasting scene. And you know what? There's plenty of room out there still to get into podcasting and bring your school or classroom into the podcasting genre. Hey, today on the show, we have got a lot of fun topics. We do not have a guest today. It's getting near the end of school, and our guests are just as busy as you are. That's probably why you're listening to this in podcast form, and maybe possibly not live. But our guests are pretty busy, so it's hard to get our guests in at this time of the year since it is the end of the year. They're also educators, so they're wrapping up everything that's going on at this point. But today we're going to talk about some FlexMod scheduling in schools. We're going to talk about Uberizing of K12, and we're going to also talk about some of the big stuff that's going on with Google this week.
Yeah. This is the kickoff of the Google I/O conference. Happened earlier today, about I think noon our time, somewhere in there. Anyway, lots of cool stuff that Google is revealing and talking about and sharing with folks. So lots of cool stuff coming on. Sorry.
David actually had to run out of the studio real quick.
I literally had to run out of the studio.
Gotta run out of the studio. I'll be right back in a second.
Can't catch my breath.
Yeah, right. Listen, you can catch us in 2 weeks at HISTE, the Hot Springs Technology Institute. Arkansas's longest running. And
is it 2 weeks?
Is it 2 weeks? Is it 3 weeks? 3 weeks.
It's a few weeks.
I can't remember.
Now.
It's Arkansas's longest running and most respected technology educational conference.
Oh yes, I know what the other thing is. Because we're going to build up to HISTE. So in a couple of weeks on June 7th.
Oh.
That's what we're thinking of. We're getting our dates all jumbled together. On June 7th, we're actually going to be at the Level Up Conference in Texarkana, Arkansas. Which the Level Up Conference is a very cool professional development program that Texarkana does just for their teachers. It's a tech conference where the teachers earn points, and those points are then redeemed for prizes, and that's where the whole level up concept comes in. So they've taken professional development and they've gamified it. And so we're actually going to do a couple of sessions at the Level Up Conference, just quick 1 hour sort of overviews of podcasting in the classroom. And we will broadcast those live. One of the things that we like to do, we're not here necessarily to just talk about ourselves, but since this is what we're doing, one of the things that we like to do at EduTechGuys is broadcast whatever we're doing live. So if we're doing a workshop and we come out to your district and we're going to show you how podcasting works in the classroom, we're going to do that live while we're presenting that particular workshop. Or if we're doing live conference coverage, then of course that's live. But so that's one of the, I think that's going to be very cool. We've got 2 back-to-back, as a matter of fact, 1 hour sessions. It's going to be fast and furious, but I think it'll be a lot of fun. I think the attendees are going to get a lot out of it. We do interactive trivia. We do all kinds of fun stuff. So it's not just us, sitting in front of the room, talking at folks. We are talking, but definitely some interactive stuff and giving away prizes, and it's going to be a lot of fun.
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, and then HISTE follows that, and then we got all kinds of stuff. We just found out today we're going to be at the AESA conference, and that is the Association for Education Service Agencies, their national conference. We did their conference last year in New Orleans, and this year it's in Savannah, Georgia. And that'll be in December, so that's good. I'm glad it's like the end of November, early December. That way it's not, like July in Savannah.
Yeah.
Although that'd be fine. If you want us there, we'll come.
That's the time of year when the mosquitoes carry you off. I'm not sure.
Yeah, that's right. They're like, you ain't got to worry about Zika. We're taking your butts down the river.
Yeah, we're going to eat you.
So, yeah. And then FETSI in January.
FETSI in January.
In Orlando.
And other things in between. If you want to, check the website out, edutechguys.com. You can check out our schedules there. As we get them, we'll put them on the schedule there.
Yeah.
Find out where we're going to be. And also, at any time, if you'd like us to come to your school or educational entity and do a workshop, we're there. Just let us know.
Yeah, you can jump out to edutechguys.com, fill out the form at the bottom of the page there. We'll get an email notification, and then we'll get in touch with you about how long you want to have us out and what pieces you'd like us to talk to your folks about, and get it going.
So, like I said, no guest today. It is the end of school in Arkansas, and it's end of school everywhere. Next week is when the Arkansas schools wrap up, and they finish up then. But next week we do have someone on the schedule for next week. Will Richards is back on. Richardson, thank you, is back on, and
he was one of our very first guests.
Yep, he'll be back on, and we have Daisy Dyer-Dewar that will be on sometime in the summer.
Yes,
She's going to reschedule. We had that was last week, but we had a scheduling conflict, and so we had to redo. But stay tuned for the summer. We'll do the shows throughout the summer just like we normally do.
Yeah.
Coming up on our 1-year anniversary in June, which is a big deal for us. We've been on the air. That will be around show 45 or For46. Yeah. We'll have done a whole year's worth of shows. That's not too bad.
That's awesome.
We didn't miss very many weeks in there, did we? For a whole year.
I think Thanksgiving and Christmas, and probably 1 or 2 scattered about. But
52 weeks, is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we only missed about 6.
Yeah.
Now some of those we were actually at conferences, I think.
Right.
And so the conferences took place while we were there. So really that's
potentially what's going to happen with HISTE. I don't know. We haven't really
That's right.
talked about that. We don't know if we're going to do a show before, a show that Wednesday before we go to the Hot Springs Tech Institute on that Thursday and Friday, or if we're just going to roll that show over. I don't know. We'll figure it out.
We'll figure it out.
We'll let you know.
We might do it from a dock somewhere on the lake.
There you
'cause
go.
It'll be in Hot Springs.
Sitting on the dock in the bay.
You know the two letters I'm thinking right now. No. I picked on David about that. He actually has a lovely singing voice.
I do not. Do not hire me for that.
So we were talking about some stuff happening. It's this time of year that schools are starting to make a lot of decisions based on what they're going to do for next year.
Right.
And a lot of schools find themselves in a position where maybe it's 3 or 4 years in on using some devices and it's getting close to refresh time.
Yeah.
And as much stuff that has happened throughout the last 12 months alone in technology, especially with the improvements and the changes in Chromebooks, the software that Apple's come out for iOS and everything like that, then the schools are going to be looking at how to refresh. And in that discussion, David has an opportunity. His daughter in school is their school district is looking at a flex mod scheduling, which is pretty interesting. I'll let David. Tell us about it.
It's really like way out there compared to what the traditional model for scheduling. So in a nutshell, and if anybody from that district is listening, forgive me if I misspeak or misstep. We had a parent meeting last night over this, and I'm still wrapping my brain around exactly how it works. Actually, for that matter, I know for a fact the administration is still trying to wrap their brain around it. That was one of the things they definitely stressed. But in a nutshell, where traditionally students have their courses laid out for them each period a day. So first period you have, Algebra 1, and you have that every single day. And second period you have AP English, and you have that every single day as second period. With FlexMod, they actually spread the classes out during the week. And there are 2 flavors of FlexMod that our school district is looking at, or I say the school district where my daughter goes to school and where my wife teaches. But they're looking at there's 2 different flavors, for lack of a better description. One is a Flex 3 and the other is a Flex 4. And all that means is how many times per week certain classes meet. If you're on a Flex 3, then that means that the periods are longer because you're only meeting 3 times a week. But it's not like you're going to have Algebra 1 first period every day in either of those scenarios. You might have Algebra 1 from 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. on Monday. And then on Tuesday, it might be from 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. And on Thursday, maybe it's just a half an hour somewhere else. Excuse me. And so all the classes are kind of scattered around in that manner. And in addition to the actual scheduled classes that students have, they also have what is called ILT, which is independent learning time. And that is probably the closest that I can describe it for us old school folks is study hall. Okay, so it's like study hall, but it's much more free and flowing. For example, they have designated areas in the library. They'll have designated benches in the halls where students that's where they can plop down and hang out in small groups and do their independent learning time. Now, one of the things that was very confusing at first, but then was later explained, all of the students do not have ILT all at the same time, right? That would be chaos if you had all the students running around, willy-nilly. No, it's whatever students are scheduled for ILT at those particular times throughout the day. So one student's ILT might be at 8 o'clock in the morning. Another student's ILT might be at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, or whenever, however that works. So basically, they're going to be grouped. I think the principal said roughly 30 to 40 students per each ILT time.
Yeah.
So it's not so bad, especially if you start, kind of if they kind of go off on their own, you're really talking about groups of probably 5 to 6 students, kind of huddled around. Generally, I would think that it's going to be students hanging out with their friends. It's going to be students hanging out with students who are taking the same class. Now, again, might not be at the same time, but they can get together and they're going to work with each other in terms of getting the content down, helping each other study, which that's another cool thing. The teachers are also set up on this flex mod schedule. So they have their structured classes that they have to teach, but then they have a lot of open office time where it's not just free time. It's not like teachers are going to be sitting around with a bunch of free time. Instead, their open office time is going to be where they could pull in small groups of students and they could work on those particular students, focusing on whatever needs they have. Maybe a student is lagging behind a little bit or having trouble with this particular concept in their Algebra 2 class. Yeah. Then that teacher can come in and say, okay, well, let's work with you 4 folks and let's see if we can all get you going together.
That's pretty cool.
It's very cool. Another really neat thing about the way they're going to do this is from 9th grade to 12th grade, every student will be assigned a mentor who, generally speaking, is not going to be necessarily a teacher that they are taking classes with. So a different teacher will be the mentor for, say, like my 9th grade student, all right? And that will be the same mentor throughout all of high school. So you have this student who gets to know this teacher, and this teacher who gets to know this student, and what they like and what they don't like, and what their interests are, and where they're struggling, and what's going good and what's going bad, in and out of the classroom. We visited with a group of folks. I say we. I can't remember who all went. I think Bobby Hart with Hope Public Schools and several other Hope Public Schools folks went. It was a meeting up in Little Rock, and several of us from the Education Service Center went, and I think maybe a couple other schools went. And we were talking with districts who had done this in other states, and one of the things that they stressed was that they could see the difference in their students with the mentors. And like a student might be starting to fall behind, let's say, or they seem to be struggling with something. And the mentor could pick up on that. And in fact, one of the examples they gave, the mentor did pick up on that and say, I'm not prying here, but there's something, is everything okay? Well, it turned out no, the grandfather had passed away, or the grandfather was dying, or I can't remember what it was. And so they worked around that schedule, in relation to what was going on with that student.
That's pretty cool.
So yeah, it's very cool. There's definitely going to be some growing pains. I mean, no doubt about it. And
the logistics of what you're talking about is massive.
It is massive.
And I think that's probably, as anyone could attest to, when you start any new program, whether it's FlexMod or whatever, a one-to-one rollout or whatever you're doing, the logistics of it are a booger. And then the growing pains, that's the killer.
Right.
That's the thing that's going to get you. That small infection that blows up to be a massive infection.
Right.
But, Prescott, 1,000 kids?
Yeah.
1,200 kids.
Right around, yeah.
So the high school, how many per grade? 100?
Probably.
That's kind of like a perfect size.
Yeah.
So, Prescott has this opportunity to dev that out.
Right.
And get it worked out. So that's really a good size.
Yeah.
I can see larger school districts, with a bunch of kids, having a hard time doing that. Because staff, there's the interesting part. The difference between 100 kids per class and 200 kids per class, staff-wise, is not that big a difference to change the staff. You know what I mean?
Right.
5 to 8.
Yeah.
So even at 100, you got a lot of good staff to handle it. But once you start adding kids, you might add another 8 teachers. But then you go, well, everybody's going to have a mentor. Oh gosh, then I have 25 kids. I got a mentor or something or even more. And then it gets like, okay, that's crazy. I can't.
Yeah.
It sounds like it's going to be pretty cool. I think the FlexMod scheduling. I think year-round scheduling. I think all-day schooling. Mm-hmm. I think when secondary schools go to the ability to go from 7 until 7.
Yeah.
And, the school buses for those campuses run like public buses. Hey, these are the bus stops, and these buses are going to stop here every hour
Right.
on the hour or every quarter of the hour, so that if you get on this bus, you will be at school by the hour.
Right.
And so if you're a high school kid and you're a single parent family or not, whatever, and you're working at McDonald's and you close on Tuesdays and Thursdays and you close at 1 and you go home and you're a teenager, so you need to sleep like 22 hours. But they can wake up at 11 o'clock and still go and take all the courses that they need to take.
Right.
I think when we get to the point where we do that, which I think is just another version of a flex modified schedule that runs all day, and then running that thing all year.
Yeah.
Because that's the same thing goes for a lot of teachers. When do you teach? I go in at noon, and I teach until whatever. And I like to go in early. I go in at 6 in the morning, and I get through at 2.
Right.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I love it, because then I still have time in the afternoon to run errands and go to the grocery store, and the bank's still open, and I pick my kids up from school if I have smaller kids. Yeah.
Right.
I think that's – and then you actually get into an interesting place where you could justify hiring more staff.
Oh, sure, to help
alleviate that whole interesting thing.
Yeah.
I think when schools start moving in that direction, and look where we are with 1-to-1. I mean,
that's right.
We got it. I think maybe we at EduTechGuys should stop using 1-to-1. I don't think 1-to-1 is actually a valid statement anymore. And the reason I say that is because every kid pretty much. We have a larger percentage of kids that already have a device, whether it be personal or not. Right. That saying 1-to-1 is no longer, because we all know in EdTech that most of the kids can do, if not everything they do on their phones, pretty much all of the things.
Right, most of the things they can do.
So saying 1-to-1 anymore is kind of stupid.
Well, it is, except that to me, 1-to-1, this is my definition, for lack of a better description. When I think 1-to-1, that is the school supplying the device. I think BYOD, I think it's students bringing the device. Mm-hmm. Now, I don't know what the hybrid is. 1 to BYOD, I don't know. 1 to OD. No, not 1 to OD.
I think, so that's our new thing. We got to come up with a term.
Yeah,
so
we need a term
device-enabled.
Device. Yes, device-enabled students. The DES kids.
The DES kids.
But that's one of the things I was going to talk about. As part of this change, they are giving every student 9-12 a Chromebook, because the teachers this summer are getting training and time to work on their changeover to this new environment, and everything's going to be electronic. They're putting it all in Google Classroom. They're having a major Google Classroom rollout. They're converting everything to Google Classroom. Students, in a weird sort of way, not weird sort of way, but in a way, they are moving toward that whole no excuses environment as well.
Yeah.
You were out. I'm sorry you were out, but you really don't have an excuse because it's all electronic. And on top of that, you also have your independent learning time in addition to your regular classroom time. So you've got time to work on your stuff,
right? Or
should.
So are the kids going to be able to take them home?
Yes. Yeah. And that was another major piece of the discussion. Well, there were two parts of that. One, the discussion was, so how are you going to protect what are you going to do to keep my little Johnny from surfing around to sites he's not supposed to go to?
GoGuardian.
And that's exactly what they're using. They're going to use GoGuardian.
There's nothing else to use.
And so they're going to use GoGuardian for that. And then the other question was, well, what if I don't have internet at home? Well, with Google Docs, and the way my understanding is the way the assignments are going to be handled is that the student will have to make a lot of student responsibility in this environment, a lot of student responsibility. Mm-hmm. And so the student has to be responsible for offloading that content onto the Chromebook, basically making it available offline, so that when they go home, they can still work on it. When they come back, they go online, it syncs up, you're good to go.
Right. Well, and let's take a look at what we know about some things happening with USAC and where they're moving to start providing. And think about it this: if that school district can make it happen, going to be some little hurdles.
Sure.
But you could drop paper textbooks, go digital, save yourself a lot of money, and then that $200 tops $220 Chromebook is very viable.
Yeah, exactly.
So, honestly, saving the district money.
Right. Well, and not only that, one of the discussions is insurance. So there's a $25 per student insurance fee. It's $25. There were several parents who were voicing some concern about that. They're already having a tough time making ends meet, and et cetera. And I totally get that. The counter argument to that is that the district is providing any of the what I will call traditional school supplies, pens, paper, that type of stuff. So parents don't have to spend that $25 on pens and paper and Kleenex and whatever else the teacher says, hey, you got to go buy. So that $25 you would have spent at your local big box store buying school supplies now can go to the $25 to cover the insurance of that Chromebook. By the same token, the district was very clear and adamant that there will be no child left out of the loop. That one way or another, students would be able to use devices. Now, it could very well be that a student cannot take it home if they don't have insurance, but they could check one out of the library and, use the Chromebook or whatever.
Right.
So, I mean, I think it's going to be it's going to be very cool. It's very different. Again, there's going to be some growing pains, but frankly, with a daughter who's just going into this, which I realize they're all just going into this, but she's going to be with it, for several years. I think it's going to be an awesome opportunity. I really do.
I think it is too. I can't wait to see how it plays out.
Yeah.
Which we'll definitely follow because it's right here near us.
Yeah. Anyway, sorry. I don't know how to say this another way, so I'm just going to have to ask you on air. Do we have a music artist?
Oh, we do.
This week?
Yeah.
Okay.
Actually, we're going to bring some Nick C back on just because
cool.
We like Nick C and his music's good. Yeah. Are you trying to bogart my time?
I am taking over task mastering. That's what I'm doing.
Is that what you're doing?
I am.
Cool. Well, let's do that. We'll jump out right now. How's that sound?
Works for me.
Hey, listen, you're listening to EduTechGuys.com, and we're coming to you live from the Southwest Arkansas Educational Co-op. We're going to jump out to a little music right now with Nick C. So stay tuned. We'll be back in just a few minutes.
Your name, will you hear me? Cause honey, I'm just vibing on your energy when you're near me. And I know we have just begun, but I'm glad that we can give it a chance. Cause ain't no better feeling out and falling in love. My heart is not my own, and it's sinking like a stone. I'm completely yours. I'm completely yours. I'm completely yours. I'm completely yours. Well, love, every time that you cross my mind, I think of bright moonlight and a glass of wine, and slow dancing on the beach to our favorite song. And if nobody's looking, we can get it on. Well, I know we have just begun, and I'm glad that we can give it a chance. Cause ain't no better feeling out and falling in love. My heart is like a stone. My heart is not my own. I'm completely yours. I'm completely yours. I'm completely yours. I'm completely yours. when you look at me, the way my hair stands up when I hear you speak, the way my legs turn rubber when you love me down. I said, hey, little lover, can you hear me now? Well, I know we have just begun, and I'm glad that we can give it a chance. 'Cause ain't no better feeling out than falling in love. My heart is not my own, it's sinking like a stone. I'm completely yours. 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 I'm completely yours.
Hey, you're listening to EduTechGuys, coming to you live from the Southwest Arkansas Educational Co-op. Coming back with another Nick C right at you. Stay tuned.
When your eyes they gaze upon me, and your silhouette is near, all I will ask of you is to love me down, 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 with your mercy all around. And when your poetry is clear, all I will ask of you is to love me now, now, now. Oh, I love you more than words can say. Oh, I ain't throwing that word, no.
Hey, you're listening to EduTechGuys, coming to you live from Southwest Arkansas Educational Co-op in Hope, Arkansas. That was Nick C. Hey, he's one of our favorite artists. He's also a relative of David's, but that has nothing to do with the fact. But no, he's a great artist.
Yeah.
If you want to check out his website, it's nicksea.com, niksea.com.
Yep.
You can also find him on Facebook. Just look up NIKSEA, Nick C. Hey, I want to give another shout out to one of our favorite artists who's a local boy around here, but pretty famous cat in these parts, and we've played some of his music on the show before, and that's Trey Johnson.
Yeah.
Trey Johnson's from Prescott, which is right down the road. He and Dave Allman, and Dave Allman is like a local hero for Arkansas too. He's a phenomenal singer-songwriter, guitar player. They're doing a really cool house concert May the 19th, which is tomorrow, at the Wildwood Park for the Arts in Little Rock.
That's cool.
Yeah, pretty cool. They're going to have at 6:30 the doors open, 7 o'clock is showtime. It's at the big pavilion at the Wildwood. If you've never been to Wildwood Park, it's gorgeous. It's in Little Rock, right off of the Chenal, in the Chenal Valley area. So, if you want to catch those guys, I'll give him a shout out if you're listening to us in the state. That's in the Little Rock area. Trey Johnson and Dave Allman at Wildwood Park. Hey, welcome back to the show. We were just killing a little time there for us to catch our breath. Sometimes we get to talking and we forget how much we are talking. So we have to give ourselves a little break there and kind of catch our breath. We were talking about the FlexMod scheduling and what's going down with using devices in that. And in the FlexMod, they made a beautiful choice of going with Chromebooks, because that's going to be perfect for what they're doing. So I'm looking at the show notes, and got a lot of stuff coming up for us. We'll be at Level Up in Texarkana on June the 7th for 2 sessions. That's in Texarkana, Arkansas. We'll be doing some short sessions on podcasting and beginning podcasting and how you can podcast from your district, from your school, or from your classroom, or from your backyard, or from a hall closet. It doesn't really matter. Pretty much any device, anywhere, you can do that. You can also catch us at the Southwest Arkansas Educational Cooperative on June the 14th. We'll be doing some workshops here in the afternoon here in Hope, Arkansas. So you could check the Southwest Arkansas Educational Cooperative website there, and you can see if you could get a schedule. We might be booked because we're really popular.
There is space available.
There is space available.
Just going to put that out there, man.
Hey, June the 15th through the 16th, we'll be at the Hot Springs Technology Institute in Hot Springs, Arkansas. You don't want to miss that one. We're going to be right out front, broadcasting live from the whole thing and doing a breakout session there.
Yeah. Exactly.
So you want to check us there. Coming up down the road in the future, we have some other big conferences. We'll talk about those more. You can also check our website, edutechguys.com. Find our schedules there and see where we're going to be. Always looking for folks to be on the show. If you would like to be on our show, let us know. Go to the website, drop down to the bottom of the contact form, drop us a quick email, and let us know what you do, how you do it, and why you should be on the show. We'll probably love to have you. Definitely.
Absolutely.
Check the website to keep up with us. Always looking for schools to do our workshop and do our thing in. We just love bringing the idea of podcasts to the classrooms and to schools. So I noticed here in the show notes you have the Uberizing of K12.
All right. So, I came across this. In fact, what's really weird is it's an article that was put out by Kathy Norris and Elliot Soloway back in September of 2015. What's weird is I guess it kind of flew under the radar. I mean, I guess it made its waves at the time. I don't know. It flew under our radar anyway. And then I got some kind of, I don't know, I got something anyway. And it was referencing this whole notion of Uberizing K12. And I was like, what is this? And so it referenced this article in that other article. You know how it is. It's all social. Everybody's sharing, putting in their ideas. Well, one thing leads to another. And
right.
So as I was reading over this, essentially, if you take the concept of Uber, right? We had taxis.
I call up.
Right. We still have taxis.
Yeah.
All right. It's a pain in the butt, but sometimes, it's a pain in the butt to get the taxi. Then you got to, pay, and you got to do all this stuff. And,
right.
Okay, but there's a system in place, and it's very structured, and over time, it's very predictable. Okay. And then Uber comes along, and Uber basically says, hey, there's an app for that. You push a button, and boom, you instantly get a car delivered to your door or wherever you need to meet the Uber driver, and you get in and you do your thing and you get out, and there you go.
Yeah, and payment and everything's easily handled.
Right, everything's, yes.
One fell swoop.
Yes, exactly. So what they're saying, if I understand the article correctly, what they were saying is that is where education needs to go, in their opinion. That and to that end, that's sort of where education is going, again, in their opinion, where essentially education is getting Uberized. That is 24/7 on demand. I get the courses I want, when I want them, how I want them.
Right.
I no longer have to sit in a brick and mortar building, or I shouldn't have to sit in a brick and mortar building in order to get my education. And even if I am in a brick and mortar building, then I should have more control over or more freedom over how that education content is delivered to me, what I do with it, how I consume it, how I turn around and use that information. And so that's what their entire that was kind of the premise of the article.
Well, I think that's interesting, because that's exactly what Khan Academy is and what Carpe Diem is, and that's what Arkansas Virtual High School is.
Right.
I mean, it's kind of like, I need this right now. But you know what else is interesting is that drops me into stuff like Quizlet and Study Blue. Your daughter probably uses it. I know my daughter uses it. When she's practicing when she's studying for a test, she uses Quizlet, and her friends use Quizlet. And so they build what they need at that point. It's like,
right.
I need to build a study guide. Well, here it is online. The cool part about it is that study guide is then shared with all these students.
Right.
Which some people, well, that's cheating. Is it cheating? That's just the way we all used to get together at the soda shop or hang out at somebody's house and have study groups.
Exactly.
I mean, now it's just, I don't have to leave the comfort of my beanbag. I can just do it right then.
Right.
But it's right. And that's really funny. I guess they're right. That's an interesting that we missed that article from a little over half a year ago.
Right.
How do we miss this article, which they're kind of point on about, a kid could, and that's interesting. I wonder how many kids really know about Khan Academy and Carpe Diem and all those neat sites that have, Khan Academy has like 2,400 educational videos and all these sites. If a kid was studying for a certain chemistry test, they could probably, that weekend go to Khan Academy and find a whole set of videos or a video on what they're studying, and get that Uber. Boom! I need it right now. There it is. It's at my doorstep. I've got a whole other class because I didn't understand covalent bonds, and now I understand covalent bonds.
Sure.
And boom! That's really interesting. How do we miss that?
Okay, so here's the extension of that. If I remember, near the end of the article, they basically are touting the fact that through the quote-unquote Uberization of K12, you could essentially get rid of 20% of the teaching population.
And
because the students don't need them anymore.
That's right.
Because they can get the content whenever, however, wherever. So, of course, that's an interesting and, depending on your perspective, very dangerous / negative side effect of this whole concept. Then the extension of that is, okay, so let's say, for the sake of argument, you're okay with getting rid of 20% of the teaching profession, much like what happens in other professions where the information age and or other systems have been put in place. It's replacing human power.
Right.
So therefore, okay, we don't necessarily need as many humans. All right. So there's that part of it. And then by extension, all right, then how do you vet the people who are putting the content that those students are now, coming into? And that brings up the whole side of, certification, and do the teachers need to be certified?
Right.
Do people have to be certified educators in order to be putting out this information?
Homeschool parents don't.
That's true.
But you're interesting enough.
So I guess it depends on. I think a lot of it depends also on how you view the teaching profession as a whole. If you view the teaching profession as a whole on par with other licensed professionals, lawyers, doctors, what have you, then yeah, this is a huge problem, because now we're talking about, people, me sitting at home on WebMD diagnosing what you have a problem with, and then you come into my house and me cutting you open and operating on you.
But that also gets into the point of the basic of that's a lot more zeros for some people and a lot less zeros for other people.
That's true too.
But the reason what's interesting about that is I think that gets into the privatization of education, which I'm kind of possibly for. Because here's the interesting part. There's only one Robert De Niro, and there's only one Chris Tucker, and there's only one basketball guy.
One basketball guy?
I could not think of anybody. Dwayne Wade. There you go. I couldn't think of anybody on top of my head. But here's the interesting part about that. If the right teacher gets online and is great at what they do and can convey the teaching experience through videos and through online work, then they become rather popular. They become the Robert De Niro who gets $10 million a movie and does 5 movies a year and makes $50 million a year. They're not going to make that. But they make a lot more money than going to a school district and teaching in one class and only reaching 100 kids a year.
True.
We actually get this interesting thing where I agree with the same thing, but there's the interesting part is that I think some of that vets itself. The internet vets itself in a lot of situations.
It also doesn't, though, in a lot. I mean, how many things do you see shared that are completely erroneous, but people get behind it and
now we're
to
Darwin's Origin of the Species. If you're stupid enough to go to Ronnie John's MD website and Ronnie John says, make you a poultice out of some chewing tobacco and some dirt and put it on the gunshot wound, you'll be better in a week. Well, then you get what you get,
Yeah.
But I hear what you're saying. But,
okay, but let's say you go to the same website and that's the guy who's educating your kid, and your kid loves to watch this guy and he's learning, dirt shoveling 101. No offense to dirt shovelers, that's not what I mean. But what I mean is, you're right. You're right. You're right.
I mean,
you're right.
At this point, Instagram, Snapchat are teaching our kids.
Well, true, and I actually wasn't even thinking along those lines. I was thinking along the lines of there are certain folks in the profession that, they are doing the same thing. They're steeped in their ways of teaching and aren't changing it and hadn't changed it since 1918.
And what's the word? You've got a 30.
So you're right.
32-year veteran teacher still teaching.
Right.
Right now, point. I mean, I'll make a dangerous statement right now. My daughter's taking vocabulary exams these last 2 weeks, and the definitions have to be verbatim memorized. Verbatim. If you use "and" instead of "a," you miss the whole thing. Thank you. I mean, and that's interesting because
what the heck, man?
That's where we are. That's where we are in this country. You're going to need to memorize these verbatim. And so you have all these kids that are sitting at the top of the class, these kids with 4 points and everything.
Doing busy work.
Well, and they're bombing it. Because
it.
I was like, well, how many do you have to learn for tomorrow? 40.
Yeah.
And the definitions have to be verbatim. So the only way I can do that is to memorize them.
Is
that not stupid? So let's, and then my favorite answer was, well, and next week, we have one test and they're going to pick 40 words from the 380 that we've had to learn over the last 2 months or whatever. Right. So you're right. I mean, but there's the interesting part. The organization, Amalgamated Toast, they're smart enough to build the site where they vet their own people and they have, the credentials to say these people have this.
True.
Then that becomes one more entrepreneurial, endeavor. And I believe there are plenty of students to go around and plenty of companies to provide that. I think when a company gets too large in trying to provide something like that, Khan Academy has not gotten too large. Or has it? I don't know. But, when you get too large, you kind of lose sight of what you're doing.
Right.
There's an interesting thing. I don't think an organization could work that way with teachers that never step into a human contact arena.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's going to work hand in hand with education as we see it.
Yeah.
Because those are the teachers that are also great classroom teachers and have great rapport with kids.
Right.
And they're the ones that, this person, whether you follow them on video, you follow their Twitter, or you go to their classroom, they're a great teacher.
Right. Yes, exactly.
But, that's a beautiful thing. I think it'll work itself out. But it's really interesting, the Uberization of education.
Yeah, the title definitely, caught my attention. And as I kind of delved into it, and I don't know, some of it, obviously rubbed me the wrong way, and so I thought it would be fun to discuss.
I see. I was looking at the article. I see what they're talking about. They want to save a lot of money, and I mean, I don't think we're there yet. I think that whole genre is, isn't.
Well, I'll tell you the other.
It's just kind of like a charter school, but online.
Well, and to even the extension of that then is as certain educational facilities move toward that type of environment, frankly, you're talking about less and less, well, heck, federal government involvement, even local government involvement. You're talking about, frankly, startup schools with no accountability, other than the accountability will come in the form of if a bunch of parents get their students enrolled with those particular entities and they realize that they're not getting the education they need,
right?
Then really in a weird sort of way, like you said, it kind of sorts itself out, because I'm going to pull my kid out of there and put him in something else. Now, the downside is it's not just like buying a new car. If I don't like this car, I try to sell it off and go get another car. With education, that's 6 months, a year, a year and a half of their learning, potential that's been flushed down the drain.
Exactly.
That's dangerous.
Well, I think that's what's interesting is, we don't get into politics here, and we won't get into politics. But look how homeschooling in the past 2 decades has just blown up.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And that's vetted itself pretty well. And I think there's the numbers that you don't see a lot. You'll see them from the homeschooling people, but when you look at incoming freshmen to college and you go, wow, there's a large percentage of these kids that are homeschooled. That's pretty amazing.
Right. And to that end, many parents, a lot of folks when they hear homeschooling, that's what you think of. You think of children, you think of students being educated at home by a particular parent or whatever, kind of in its own little eggshell kind of thing. It's all protected in its own one little bubble. And really, a lot of the homeschool folks, they have their own networks of other homeschoolers. I mean, it's actually its own, and there are several of those there where there are homeschool networks. So these folks are all talking with each other, working with each other, kind of building this common curriculum, even though the education is happening within the 4 walls of that particular home. It still reaches far beyond that.
Right.
And that's where I think some of this additional kind of Uberization stuff really comes into play and could really start snowballing and growing, good, bad, or ugly.
Right.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty interesting.
So anyway,
and I think
thought it was kind of
cool.
Yeah.
Hey, we'll share the article out if you want to. Just check out our show notes later. They'll be in the show notes.
Yep.
We'll put it out there. We're getting close into time.
Once again, rolling through.
But you know what it's time for?
Google App of the Week.
You made me giggle. I almost coughed. I get that choking laughter going. Hey, this week for Google App Updates, it just refreshed and came out today. If you ever want to know what's going on, just look up what's new in Google Apps. Just Google that, and you'll take you to the calendar, and you can see all the stuff coming out from Google. That's where we steal off our great ideas. But this week, it's either there or Susan Gilly. I was going to say,
we don't get them all from there,
but
if not, they're from Susan.
For every 10 things we know, she knows 1,000. So.
Yeah, amen to that.
But I'll tell you what's really cool is, so Google has, one of their new updates is you can embed charts from Google Sheets and Google Docs and Slides, and then update them with a single click. So here's a really thing. So you build a Google chart, say in Google Numbers. It's not Numbers. What's it called? Sheets. Thanks, dude. Google Sheets. I get them all. Excel. No, you build you build your chart, And then every time that chart changes, you got to go back and get that data and then re-embed it in Google Docs. Well, now they've given you the ability to insert the sheet and then link it to the spreadsheet. So now that Google Docs chart will change every time the data is changing in a spreadsheet. So you don't have to go back and re-embed it every time and get the new graphic and bring it back over.
So essentially, Google has created their version of Microsoft's old school OLE.
Yep.
That
without all the hassle.
with it, yeah.
You remember the hassle?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. It's like
That is awesome.
Giving a rhino a root canal. But now, it's literally like 2 clicks at this point.
That is awesome.
You just go to insert chart in Google Docs or slides on the web, insert a new chart or select from sheets to add an existing one. And then as long as you check the link to the spreadsheet box, you'll be okay. Because as long as it links to that spreadsheet, every time that data changes, then that report's going to give you the newest one.
That is very cool.
That's really cool,
That's
especially when
cool.
you talk about just using it in school. Are you having troubles with attendance? Then your attendance spreadsheet, the report that the superintendent or the principal or whoever it is, the attendance officer sees, can have updated graphs and charts constantly because it's linked to a spreadsheet which the attendance secretary is changing the numbers in every day.
That is awesome.
Well, there's a great one for your business department. Every department has a budget. Mm-hmm. Well, they can just have a Google Doc report that you can break it down for them with a nice pie chart or some bar charts of how much money you got left, how much money you spent, and tie that to a spreadsheet, and boom, all you're working in is a spreadsheet, and your clients see that graph.
That is awesome. That's very cool. And just if you're not aware, you can also go to Google, and if you Google I/O, Google is currently the 18th, 19th, and 20th. I think those are the dates. Today, tomorrow, and I say today, tomorrow. If you're listening on the podcast, it's going to be May 18th, 19th, and 20th. Maybe a couple of days. I can't remember what all the days are. But anyway, it's the Google I/O conference, and they are releasing all kinds of cool new gizmos, gadgets, Google updates. I mean, they're talking about all kinds of stuff. So you definitely want to check out Google I/O. And we're getting close to time. Before we go any further, I did want to say that I want to wish my wife a very happy 25th anniversary. We've been married 25 years today.
Yay!
So yeah, it's awesome. So
if you want to, make sure you go to David's Twitter, David Inark. He has a nice picture of them when they were just little kids.
That was a long time ago.
You guys are really young in that picture.
Well, yeah. I have hair.
You have aged a lot.
I have.
Shane doesn't look much different to me.
No, yes, there you go.
Not one bit. Please make sure you share that with
I will.
And win me some brownie points.
That's right.
But I'm not lying.
No, I agree. I
was like,
completely.
who's that dude with Shan?
Yeah, no. Yes. I will tell you, the number one reaction I get when I post old pictures like that is, you had hair. I mean, like hair. Yes, I had big hair.
Yeah, that is a great picture, though.
But
hey, that's a great picture.
Thank you.
Every time I look at it, I'm like, yeah, that's not David.
I know. Hard to believe, isn't it? Yeah.
Hey, well, listen, we're
less hair, more body.
Yeah, it's almost the weekend. Good times on the EduTech
Good
Guys.
times.
Hey, please check out our website, www.edutechguys.com. We're making updates constantly when we have time. We're also working educators, so we're as busy as the rest of you are. Good luck in closing out the year. I know it's not closed for everyone just yet, but I know you're in the throes of packing up your classrooms, getting your stuff done into your reports and all that, grades and graduating kids and all that stuff.
Yes.
So have a good week and a good weekend. We'll see you next week on the show. I'm Jeff Madlock.
I'm David Henderson.
Have a good one. I do this every time.
You've been listening to EduTech Guys Radio, radio.edutechguys.com.
The opinions expressed on the site and its programs are those of participants and not intended to and do not necessarily reflect the opinions of any specific educational entity, sponsor, company, state, or government agency.